מה דכתיב, what the pasuk which says, והשקו גבר וביתו, they will oshek, they will take away man and his house, ואיש נחלתו, and man's inheritance. מעשה, this pasuk go on the following story. איזה זכות. הרב עם הציצית. אבל צריך להזיז את זה אחר כך. הנה. זה מה שאתה תרמת? תראיך, אני בא וידע מה אני בא. אז אנחנו... כן. So we are in חטא עמוד א' on the bottom. גיטינו לחטא עמוד א' למטה. אמר רב יהודה אמר רב, מה דכתיב והשקו גבר וביתו, they will take away man in his house, ואיש נחלתו and man and his inheritance. מעשה, there is a story באדם אחד with one man, שנתן עיניו באשת רבו. He put his eyes on the wife of his master. Meaning, she was more good looking than his wife. And therefore, he was looking at her. רבו, Rashi said, what was רבו? wasn't רבו לתורה, אלא רבו לאומנות של נגרים. He used to teach him how to be a carpenter. ושוליה, דנגרי אבי. He was the helper. Shulaim is the side person of the nagar, the helper of the nagar, of the carpenter. פעם אחת, one time, הוא צריך רבו ללוות. His master, meaning his boss, needed to borrow money. אמר לו, he told them, שגר אשתך אצלי והלבנה. Send your wife to me and I'll lend her. שיגר אשתו אצלו, he sent his wife to him. שעה עמה 3 ימים, he was with her, the worker, for 3 days. Then, after 3 days, Kadam, he got up early in the morning, הוא בא אצלו, and he came to him. אמר לו, אשתי ששיגרתי לך, the wife that I sent you, היכן היא, where she is, מה קורה, איפה היא? אמר לו, מה אתה רוצה ממני? אני פטרתי עליה לאלתר. I'm right away, I sent her away. ושמעתי, I heard, שהתינוקות נתעללו בה בדרך, that the kids were playing with her on the road, she was playing with kids. אמר לו, מה אעשה? What should I do? נתעללו? נתעללו, meaning to play. התעללתי במצרים. Take advantage, abuse, yes. No, take advantage is a better way. Take advantage is a better... זה כולם תעללים. Take advantage is a better way, meaning they were inappropriately playing with her. So, אמר לו, מה אעשה? What should I do? אמר לי, אם אתה שומע להצעתי, if you listen to my advice, גרשה, divorce her. אמר לו, כתובתה מרובה. וואו, שיהיה איזה בי כתובה. I had a case, the guy that I married, and then they had to get divorced. He called me, הרב, אני לא הסכמתי $55,000. I never agreed, because they put חמסה. So, הרב, I never agreed. $55,000 כתובה, that's, it's called emergency exit fund, you know? אמרתי לו, do you know what's 55,000? חמסה. I remember that you told me חמסה. But now it's against him, it's חמסה. Okay. So he said, כתובתה מרובה, too much money in the כתובה. אמר לו, אני אלבך, lend you the money. ותן לה כתובתה, give her כתובה. עמד זה, this guy got up, וגירשה, and he divorced her. הלך הוא, the worker came, ונסע, he married her. הייתי שומע, כיוון שהגיע זמנו, the time came to pay back the money for the כתובה, ולא היה לו לפורו, he couldn't pay him back. אמר לו, he told him, no problem, you cannot afford paying me back, go, work for me. בוא, ועשה עמי וחומך, go, and work for me for what you owe me. שמיע, והיו, הם יושבים, so the worker, former worker, and ex-wife sitting together, ואוכלים ושותים, and eating and drinking. והוא, and the server, now he became a server, the boss, עומד ומשקיע עליהם, he's serving them, giving them water. והיו דומעות נושרות מעיניו, there were tears falling out of his eyes, ונופלות בכוסיהן, and dropping into the glass. ועל אותה שעה נחתם גזר דין. On that moment, they were sealed for בית המקדש to destroy. Very interesting, why on that moment, what's so special about it? ואמרי לעשם say, על 2 פתילות בנר אחד. On two ptilot, 2 wax in 1 candle, meaning she is eshetish and is considered as an eshetish. Marsha explained that when he was with her for 3 days, according to the first pshat, היא שהה עמה 3 ימים. He was with her 3 days, he didn't sin with her. ואמרי, according to the last pshat, he sinned with her before she got divorced. And that's why it's called 2 waxes in 1 candle. So obviously, so כל הסיפור פה, the story obviously doesn't make sense at all. Excuse me, your wife, you send your wife to get something, she doesn't come back, you wait 3 days, you wake up in the morning, let me get her. Where were you? You send her after an hour, go and check on her. Obviously they were living in the same area, this is the helper, his helper, nachon? So you wait 3 days and then you ask her, how is my wife doing? That's his basic question. Another question, and probably everybody asks, if somebody is serving you and cries, would you like to somebody serve you like that? Meaning, how would the wife feel when this guy is serving her?
Guilty.
She's evil. Uncomfortable. She's evil. What's wrong with her? Who wants somebody like that to serve them? What's the feeling?
What's the first that he would even send her?
Oh, that's a better question. You know, let's go from the beginning of the story. Let's reread the story and I think. So, מעשה באדם was the story of a man. נ"ח עמוד א' למטה. You know what, let's go even before. עומר רב יהודה עומר רב. מהי דכתיב? What the pasuk which says, ועשקו גבר וביתו. They will oshek, will take away a man and his house. So who is, we have 3, גבר, עשקו, גבר וביתו. There are 3 people over here. Who is the oshek over here? The one who take? That's the worker, נכון? He's the oshek. Gever is the boss. He took away the boss. What? But ubeto, he took away his wife. He didn't take away the boss. He took away only his wife. Why it's called והשקו גבר וביתו? ומה יעשה? כי הוא שיעבד אותו. So then he didn't take her. יכול להיות שזה שניהם, יכול להיות שזה שייך. איש כגוף. So מעשה באדם אחד שנתן עיניו באשת רבו. What his name of his boss? רבו. Rashi emphasized, I don't think it was his Rabbi. Rabo usually is Rabbi. Rather, Veshulia denagre have. And he was the helper of the Nagar. So why the Gemara describe him on a misleading word that he was Rabo? His boss. Rashi said right away, the Gemara says, Veshulia denagre ave. So the Gemara said he was the helper of the Nagar. So if helping the Nagar, what do we need to emphasize? It was his. An helper of a Nagar, obviously, is learning from the Nagar the word. How do Jews open business? They hire somebody, they sign non-compete, he learns the job, then he go against the non-compete, and he open another business similar to him. And that's how Jews, you know, that's a lot of businesses.
Across the street.
Across the street. No, that's my tiny. I always told my employees, look, if you want to do my business, it's a car rental for many years. You want to open another car rental? I'll help you. Just don't do it next to me, you know? Try to go another neighborhood. Why did you take my business, you know? Said, I'm not going to say non-compete because you will, you know? And I don't blame you. You got to make living. I'll help you. Just don't do it across the street, you know? Try to be a mensch. But this is obviously Shoya the Nagre. That's a helper of the Nagar. Helper of the Nagar is not the Nagar himself. He's his helper and he's learning from him. And the Gemara emphasized that he was Rabo. Then פעם אחת הוא צריך ללוות, he needed to borrow money. If you read the storyline, he never asked him for a loan. נכון? הוא צריך ללוות. His Rabbi needed to borrow money.
How would he have the money?
Huh?
How would his
So that's a good question. I was bothered as a kid even with this question. Usually the boss has more money than the worker, נכון? Crisis, but then they don't get paid also. Yeah, but it's a valid point. You know, usually it's supposed to be the opposite. Meaning this story will read better.
Real estate.
This story
was getting paid salary.
Yeah, this story would be better if the boss look at the wife of the employee, and then
Would make
more sense that him borrowing, but he doesn't see the storyline that he ever asked a loan from him. So he knows, הוא שמע אותו בטלפון, he heard him over the phone, he says, Exactly, he heard him over the phone, you know, I need to borrow money to pay my employees, זה מצב קשה, and therefore he needs money. So then he went over to him, he said, okay, I'll lend you money. But what he offered him, the way to lend the money, he should have said, what's wrong with you? שגר אשתך אצלי ועלבנה. I will lend her.
מה זה שגר?
Send. Send away your wife to me. So that's, Rabbi Ariel was thinking also maybe it's Pikadon, but let's explore that option soon. So he said, send your wife and I'll lend her. Who is he lending the money to? Him. He's lending the money to him, to his boss, נכון? He says, send your wife and I'll lend her. He's not supposed to lend his wife. He's supposed to lend him. Why he says, valvena? שיגר אשתו אצלו, he sent his wife to him. שהה עימה 3 ימים, he was with her for 3 days. And then that doesn't make sense, אחי. 3 days, מה? אתה שקט בבית, הכל בסדר? קדם הוא בא אצלו, he got up, השכים רש"י says, קדם, meaning he got up early in the morning. On the first day you get up early in the morning to go to him. ואם תלך באמצע היום, if you're going to be of the day, what would be the difference? what צריך לצטור דווקא בהם? קדם, נזכר, ובא אצלו. אמר לו, אשתי ששיגרתי לך, איך אני? My what did I send to you? Where she is? אמר לה, אני פטרתי על היתר, I sent her right away, ושמעתי שהתינוקות נתעללו בה בדרך. I heard that the kids was playing with her, נתעללו בה. So the לשון נתקודת, what's the message that he's giving him? She slept with somebody else? Tell them, שמעתי. Anyway, הוא שומע למשהו. The boss believe whatever he said, שמעתי, he believes him so far, נכון? He could have said, שמעתי, that she הלכה למישהו אחר.
How is this guy so naive?
Right? That's the obviously underlying issue over here. The guy, it seems to be, after all, he was his boss, so he's supposed to be a guy who knows how to make money, לא פראייר. So he says, שמעתי שהתינוקות נתעללו בה בדרך. Why the message to him is תינוקות were playing with her? He could have said, שמעתי שהיא הלכה עם מישהו אחר. Why do we need the תינוקות נתעללו בה? Obviously she slept with other kids. So what's the point of saying the kids portion of it? אמר לו, מה אעשה? What should I do? Okay, let's assume. So at this point, it seems that he's asking him a question. I want to ask you advice. What should I do now? His response doesn't make sense. אמר לו, אם אתה שומע לעצתי, if you listen to me, גרשה. This response doesn't need to be as an introduction to the answer. If you go to somebody, look, listen, I want to tell you, I heard you want to get married with a certain lady, Moroccan, stay away from them, you know? So then you can tell him, אם אתה שומע לעצתי, if you listen to my advice, don't get into it. But if somebody asks you to advise, should I marry this lady? What are you supposed to tell them? No. Yes, but if you listen to my advice, the dialogue doesn't make sense. אמר לו, he told him, no, I agree with you. כתובתה מרובה, it's too much כתובה. אמר לו, אני אלבך, I'm gonna lend you, ותן לה כתובתה. So this, everything fishy over here, לא? כמו שאתה מופרייר. He said, לא, I'm gonna lend you money. Make sure, give her the ketubah. He's supposed to smell that something is wrong with her. How come he's willing to do such a thing? שישאל אותה, מה היה? שמעתי. שמעת? בסדר, שומע כעונה.
עכשיו הוא רבו.
כן, מוזר, בדיוק. He's giving him advice. אמר זה וגרשה, he divorced her, והלך הוא ונשא, he married her. כיוון שהגיע זמנו ולא לפרעה, at the time to pay, didn't have money to pay, אמר לו, בוא ועשה עמי בחותך, come work for me. What somebody else would have told you? You know, what are you telling me? You took my wife, you made me to divorce my wife, and for the ketubah you pay me money, and now you told me to work for you, and he's working for you, what's wrong?
Rabbi obviously has some mental issue.
But we're not talking about mentally ill people. This is a message of a korban.
But he did
Cannot be. We cannot interpret it. The Gemara gives stories about mental ill people. That's not the message for us. The Gemara assumes that we are not mentally ill, so it's message for normal people.
The whole story is making mistakes
Right.
He's fumbling the container.
Meaning he was never the one over.
Excellent. תראה, גם לך אני הפשט יותר ממני. והם היו יושבים ואוכלים ושותים. They were sitting, eating and drinking. והוא עומד ומשקה עליהם, then he's serving them, and tears coming out of his eyes, and he said, and they don't mind. How come the biggest embarrassment, we have these issues whenever we have events, and you have divorced parents, and they come to the same bar mitzvot of shorashim, the same two parents come in the same room, each one takes a corner, lo naim. Sometimes we had drama, sometimes we didn't have drama, the question if the parents like themselves more than the kids. But it's very lo naim, very uncomfortable to be on a place where your ex is over there, right? Your ex is over there. What's going on over here? It's scary. So Rav Ophir started, and somebody else also hinted. Who was it? It seems over here.
Is it fair to assume that in the beginning of his marriage was very good because he says Ketubata Meruba? Is that a fair assumption?
That's a good one. Look, every beginning of marriage is good.
No, what I guess what I'm saying is,
No, but Merubah could also mean for me. Could be he was completely broke. You see,
No, but no, Meruba sound like in any standards.
First of all, it just proves to you that we had cash flow problems back in the day as well. I mean, he could have
Nothing changed. Nothing changed. Yeah,
sure,
נכון.
it hasn't changed. So that's not necessarily
I
the
was
case.
by the wedding of Netanel, and I gave Rabbi Sharabani to read the ketubah that I wrote. So he looked at the amount. He said, "Okay, good, 55,000." So he told me once he did the ketubah, and he asked the guy, "Kama lichtov? How much you want to write in the ketubah?" He said, $1 million. But wow. Well, everybody same price. It's not low and it's not high. So now we need to add 30% inflation, but it still sounds better than Hansa. So we still manage. At the beginning, everything the ketubah, everybody wants to put high numbers, and then afterwards, I know a guy who put in ketubah, כמה $1 million זה? גדי גביסון. $1 million, I think he put in the ketubah. He didn't plan to divorce her, אחי. אין לו ברירה. Did he divorce? No, זה עדי, מותק של בן אדם. Yeah. He knows, if a guy gives $1 million, he's like, I'm planning to keep it for a long time. He's like, when you buy something on Amazon and you buy the warranty, you mean to keep it, So that's your warranty for yourself. But it is a good point what Morigil says. It seems at the beginning over here that he was fully in. He loved his wife a lot. That's why Ketubata Meruba. So in order to begin...
And that he had money probably.
He had money. Yeah, people don't put... No, if you... no,
back then, it's not like it is
so when Adi Gavison said, he said, anyway, I have no money, לא משנה,
Is that?
Yeah.
Is that? It's a
אני רוצה לעבור, אני אעבור למהלך כי יש לי פה 5-7 דקות. So the way to start it may be like that. Rav Ophir said, he highlighted the most very important point. The story begins when he was Rabbo and he was Shulia de Nagre. Shulia de Nagre is the Shulaim for the Nagar, and that was his master. Usually, the dynamic between the worker and the boss is that the boss always gave him a feeling, I am your boss. V'rabo habe. As he says, melamdo manut, meaning it was a control issue between the master, between the Rabbo. The Gemara use this terminology often by the master of a slave. The Gemara call it Rabbo. Rabbo, it's a slave. It's a feeling. So this is like an Israeli boss, who put his workers down. He always gave a worker a feeling, I am controlling you. When somebody lives under such a feeling, being in control, he think to marry this boss wife? No. When somebody under the Gemara said, the Ibn Ezra says, how come the Torah does for Loi Sachmoi? Don't desire a wife. So the famous story, he said, Mashal ben Akfar, a guy from the village, is not going to chomed once the daughter of the king. It's too far from him. Usually on these relationships, like, okay, sure, sorry about it, but he passed by, good looking. But so, that's the end of it. Then he realized Shutzrach Rabo Lilvot. He realized a weak point by the position of his Rabbi. He needs money. Anybody who's strong, I tell you a story, when I came to Florida, I got an offer to be Chazan in Coconut Grove. So being Chazan over there, being Chazan in Coconut Grove I asked the Rosh Yeshiva, I want to be Chazan in Coconut Grove. And he told me, no, in Yeshiva you're not supposed to be Chazan, klum. Okay, time passed by and Shabbos came and I was $500 a Shabbos. This is 22 years ago almost. After 3 weeks I bought my first car, so it was mamash important. So I went to the Rosh Yeshiva and the day before, I came and I said, Shiva, I want to talk to Rosh Yeshiva. So he said, okay. I said, I'm so sorry, but it's very hard for me over here. What I said, I'm missing my family, nobody with me. Like, so what do you want? He said, I want to go to my brother for Shabbos. He's like, okay. So go for the next month to your brother for Shabbos. And then maybe we do every other week. This is one of the most smart men I ever knew. What is the weak point of the person? Regesh, emotions. So by his regesh, his emotions, he forgot Bechlal that I argued with him 3 days ago that I wanted to go. And he already permitted, he let me go. And then I went to Chazan. But, so, it's unbelievable. Every person who feels, right? Huh?
Can't play those
Yeah, I know the stick already. So when you have this master, this Rabbi, people often give attitude on other people. You know, they feel they put them down, they're very demanding, but when they have a weakness, this is where you're getting them. Because every person has his weak point. And then here, he realized there is a weak point by man master, is a need. He didn't ask him for a loan, but he realized that he's in need. He said, you are in a need, I'm going to help you. My wife told me she is one of her principals. Whenever she wanted to talk to her, when she used to work in the school, I'm busy. And she was like very, tough. I'm sorry, I can't talk now, come later. Like, for my wife it's too much. He said, one day she came over to her and my wife told her, I think I have a shidduch for your daughter. She was older age. Then she said, and then my wife had to go. She went to her room, said, when are you finished? When are you going home? She said 12 o'clock, no problem. She was waiting for her at 12 o'clock and she was escorting my wife to the car to talk to her about the shidduch. This is, a tough lady, I'm busy. But there is a weak point. She needs a shidduch for her daughter. No, she's going to do everything in the world. She's going to work for her. Then all of this big image become like a little kid. She's running after her to catch her I was in yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael, and one of the Rabbanim was nicer to me than others. And was a need. I used to be in charge in the yeshiva over here for admissions. So one day I'm getting a call from my Rabbi in Eretz Yisrael, and everyone said the background. I'm a Sephardi guy who in Ashkenazi yeshiva. So you sug bet already, That's already class B, Sephardi and Ashkenazi yeshiva. And to be accepted at Ashkenazi yeshiva, you have to be above to be accepted, and you feel already, And this Rabbi was, whatever was over there at the time, he was beyond his way to help me. Something against the other Rabbanim in the yeshiva. So you think one day in the world is going to need me? Oh, 10 years passed by, getting a call. Ariel, I have a boy to bring into yeshiva. Can you accept him? He asking me now to accept him. This is like, now I can play the game, but I didn't, but it was a good momentum. So whenever somebody in a point of weaknesses, you can take advantage of it. He realized there is a point of weakness with his master. He said, okay, I'll lend you the money. When you lend somebody money, who's control now?
He created that.
You're in the control. You are in the control of the person. I'm lending you. Come to my office at 2 o'clock and let me see. He said, okay, you want your wife to lend the money? Send your wife to me. At this point, he catch him on a point that he is weak about himself. But he didn't realize what he did to him. Meaning, the boss didn't realize what he did to him. What's the feeling of a wife that being sent, go, borrow the money for me? What her feeling toward her husband? She feels like, he's using me to borrow money for him. If you have a loan, who should borrow the money? You yourself, you go and borrow. Can you borrow money for me? He asked him to send his wife to him, so the wife already feels weak about her husband. Her husband feels weak, nachon? Sha'etz lo shlosha yamin. What's the point of the guy who was high, controlling everything, and now he's nobody? How does he feel about himself? He made her feel nobody. And he realized that his wife is not here, and he disregarded her. Okay, my wife. She doesn't want to come back. Nobody likes me. I'm in a difficult situation in life. I'm borrowing money, and unfortunately, you see it often. A guy in a financial crisis, getting divorced, kids not, balagan, and he gave up on his wife. Shahaitzle didn't do anything wrong with her, the workers, but on his perspective, my wife, I give up. She's not coming back. I don't care. When people are in a difficult situation, they really don't care about the important stuff. He got up in the morning after 3 days of this is going on, Heshkim uba etzlo, he changed his mind. He said, okay, you know what? Let me make sure, let me restore my dignity. Let me go back and take my wife. He asked him, what's going on? Where is my wife? He said, no, שמעתי שהתינוקות נתעללו בה. What's if שהתינוקות נתעללו בה? If she went to sleep with another man, it's not so bad. תינוקות, a lady was playing with kids. I mean, we're talking about inappropriate. That shows that she doesn't respect herself. A lady is going out with a 17 years old married lady. That means she lost her own dignity. He's giving him a message. She has no dignity anymore. She lost her own dignity. And therefore, you have nothing to do with her. The only reason you're going back to your wife is to restore your dignity. She has no dignity anymore. You have no use for her. So he told him, I say, what should I do now? Any other man gonna go get his wife out of it. But when he realized that his wife has no dignity, he said, I don't need it. He said, אם אתה שומע לעצתי, גרשה. He's giving him an advice not to take care of the problem, rather to run away from the problem. If the guy has something wrong with his wife, what he should do? Go, see what's going on, take care of it. He made him feel your problem is inherited, you have no choice. He said, but the ketubah is too much. I used to love her a lot. Now he said, I'm going to lend you the money. Anyway, she's worthless. If she has no dignity, you have no use for her. Just get rid of her and we'll move on. Let's pause for a second. What's happened over here now? This man took advantage of weak time of his boss and he made him to feel nobody, and he made in front of his eyes to feel nobody. How did the wife feel living by such a husband? A wife that being controlled, by her husband, and then everything released, everything let go, there is a freedom of feeling. Unfortunately, you see it in a divorce sometimes, when the husband is so much controlling, and when somebody feels under control, in order to overcome his feeling, what he's doing, if somebody puts you down, what do? You're putting him down. Therefore, the Torah says, by Mitzrim, et asher it'alalti b'Mitzrayim. You need to see what they did to the Egyptian. Because to restore somebody else that's being put down, you need to put him down. Therefore, he said, come and work for me. His wife doesn't mind, and he doesn't mind. Why? Because he feels now, you put me down, I'm going to put you down. She feels, you put me down as a wife, I'm going to put you down. Both of them didn't mind him serving them. He didn't feel uncomfortable. Because when you take revenge on somebody for what he did to you, it's the best feeling ever. If somebody, I heard when I was a kid, I read a story, when the slaves used to get the boat, to move the boat, to paddle the boat, and so they would keep beating up the remaining Germans. And he said to his brother, they all went to eat all of the food they left over there. So his brother told them, let's daven mincha. Our identity doesn't come by putting other people down. It's come by connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and being part of them. Their identity comes by putting somebody else down. That's what made them feel good about themselves, by putting them down instead of taking care of your own identity. Which means the storyline over here is when somebody else go through difficulties, what did he do? He took advantage of the difficulties to restore his own dignity. That's inat chinam. If you need to restore your dignity, you don't need to put anybody else down. You got to work on yourself and build yourself up to who you are. By putting somebody else down, because your dignity, when people hate each other, is because of what? They feel uncomfortable with themselves. If somebody, we spoke many times, somebody going to tell me, Rabbi, you are gavoa, you're tall. I'm not going to be offended. I know I'm tall. I have no problem with it. But somebody tell Rabbi, maybe I feel uncomfortable. Maybe he's right. So when So when what you feel bad about somebody else is you're uncomfortable with yourself, that makes you hate somebody else for what he said to you. To resolve it is not putting the other person down. It's not finding a moment that I can get him. It's the opposite. I need to build a self. That's Ahavat Chinam.